Good afternoon, I'm Milton Walker with the Midday News. A special welcome if you're watching on onespotmedia.com. The parents of one of the police officers killed in last week's operation in Horizon Park in Spanish Town, St. Catherine, say there are several unanswered questions on how the pre-dawn operation was carried out. They were speaking on Radio Jamaica's hotline with Emily Shields this morning.
Let me say this tough part of the vessel that the shot went through. Come on, you can't go on special operation and giving police that to wear.
Did you
and
see?
You heard about high power weapon?
There are too many different stories surrounding the operation.
Who is giving you all these stories?
I'm hearing it from the same cops.
I don't think the operation was planned properly. Like, I don't understand why they used two guys. It was the day off. So why you call those two special? Go on to the other persons that were supposed to work.
What happened to the original team? I heard that there was 11 men was on the mission.
Five.
I heard that it's 5. I heard that it's 5 and 1 vehicle. If they have the intelligence, if they gather the intelligence on the person and know the type, the high risk that they possibly will face, and the size of the building, why 5 person? I'm no expert in security, but I think they should have at least 3 layers.
And what about the army?
What about the army backup?
The school administrators in Manchester want newly appointed Education Minister Carl Samuda to address some urgent matters. They say the challenges have been made worse by the COVID-19 pandemic. Herman Green reports.
School administrators at the Bellfield High School in Manchester were looking forward to improved CSEC and CAPE grades this year. However, as it is with other schools, COVID-19 has made everything more challenging. But school principal Paul Grant says while they are doing their best with exam preparations this year, lingering challenges will make the new school year in September more difficult. For one, despite their efforts, the school has not had a functioning telephone line since the start of the year. But then, the communication challenges got worse.
Since March of this year, we have not had any internet. So my executive secretary, Mrs. Campbell, and myself, we have to be accessing and communicating with the ministry from our homes because we have no access to internet or landline services at the school.
With classes shifting to online since then, he says the teachers and administrative staff have been using their own resources to make it work. However, come September, a simple thing like corresponding with the ministry will prove challenging. Online classes will also have to continue in an effort to maintain physical distancing. And so they are hoping that this basic technology issue will be addressed.
So that alone will impact come September the delivery because teachers will be here on the campus. So if they are here on the campus teaching students who are face-to-face, when they are not timetabled face-to-face, they will be online interacting with students who are not at school but required to be contacted online for teaching. So that poses serious problems.
The challenge affects all schools, businesses and homes in the area. Mr. Grant says he has been in dialogue with telecoms provider Flow since January, but the only response has been that they are working on it. He notes, however, that even if that is addressed, the cost of data will also affect the efficiency of online teaching, as parents have also been complaining.
The data is going to be an issue for us come September. If this is the new norm, then the ministry will have to, along with the Ministry of Energy, do something to assist schools because teachers will be full-time at work. They will not be in the comforts of their homes. And so if they're at school, imparting to those, because the school will not be able to cater to all students at once.
Herman Green, TVJ News.
Industry Minister Audley Shaw is insisting that cannabis investors are not pulling out of Jamaica due to issues with regulations. He was making his contribution to the sectoral debate in Parliament.
Recent media reports have indicated that several companies have been pulling out of Jamaica as a result of the failure of the CLA to implement the required import-export regulations. I want to state categorically that this is not so. The facts are that license holders in the medical cannabis industry are not hindered in their ability to export products from Jamaica, although the official regulations are not yet complete. Almost complete at this stage, though.
Minister Shaw says the Cannabis Licensing Authority, CLA, has granted 15 export authorizations to several countries including Canada, Australia and the Cayman Islands. As at May 31 this year, the CLA has received 705 applications.
23 are at the granted stage and 270 applicants are also conditionally approved and are now building out their facilities to meet the requirements for the granting stage of the process. Under our 2 pilot projects for the cultivation of ganja for medical use for small farmers in a compound St. Elizabeth and Orange Hill in Westmoreland, the authority continues to provide regulatory oversight to ensure compliance with the legislation.
Jamaican ship workers who are scheduled to disembark 2 ships in Port Royal tomorrow will not be allowed to go directly home. Since the reopening of Jamaica's airports this week, persons arriving in the island have been able to go home or to their hotels to await COVID-19 test results. However, Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of National Security, Matthew Samuda, says as it relates to the ship workers, the government will be using the same protocol it did for others who arrived by sea a few weeks ago. He said this will require them to remain in state quarantine until the results of their COVID-19 tests are known. The 2 cruise vessels set to dock at are the Royal Caribbean's Rhapsody of the Seas and the Disney Wonder. We take a break now on Midday News. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Midday News. With crime still a major problem in the island, persons are being urged to be more vigilant. This as an illegal firearm was recovered this week from a garbage truck in St. Catherine. The details in this report.
3 employees of the National Solid Waste Management Authority, NSWMA, remain in police custody after a firearm was found on a garbage truck in St. Catherine. It's understood that the truck was on its routine garbage collection in the parish on Monday when the crew was approached by members of the police force. A search of the truck was conducted and the firearm seized. Acting Crime Officer for the St. Catherine North Police, Detective Inspector Balvi Thomas, said the police were acting on information.
A .45 pistol containing 3 rounds was removed from the truck.
Executive Director of the NSWMA, Audrey Gordon, however, told TVJ News that the garbage truck is not owned by the NSWMA, but was assigned in a bid to help with the island's cleanup efforts.
We are not in the gun business, the crime business, or the underworld business. We run a solid waste management company here, and we do this on behalf of the people of Jamaica.
He says as a result of this incident, the agency's recruitment process will be reviewed.
We recruit sanitation workers from the very lowest level of society, and sometimes in the recruitment, we don't do the kind of background checks that would have been done for other jobs, to be honest. So maybe we ought to look now more at how we engage sanitation workers, and maybe we need to look more deeply into their background.
In the meantime, the NSWMA Executive Director is asking for a speedy investigation.
We are not concerned with the case, the criminal case that the police is pursuing. That's their prerogative. It's unfortunate that sidemen attached to the National Solid Waste Management Authority would be implicated. I, like most Jamaicans, would wish for a speedy resolution to the investigation and let the chips fall where it may.
Meanwhile, the St. Catherine North Police Division Crime Officer says the recovery of that gun on Monday was the 4th such recovery over a 4-day period in the division. Prince Moore, TVJ News.
Questions are being asked of the solid waste authorities in Clarendon. It follows complaints from citizens and members of the political directorate about the pileup of garbage in some parts of the parish. Our news team visited some of the affected areas. In Halsall, we noticed piles of uncollected garbage at different points. Some of the garbage was located beside a bus stop. In Canaanites, it was a similar story, uncollected garbage. Councillor for the Yorktown Division, Ufel Purcell, said it's a similar situation in the areas he represents. Apart from the eyesore, the councillor is worried the garbage could start attracting disease-carrying rats. He's asking the authorities to resume regular collection.
More than 2 weeks now. Overall, Clarendon is having a major difficulty in respect of garbage collection. And I just want to say it has gotten out of hand now, where citizens have been bawling every day, calling councillors and actually trying to blame councillors. And the fact of the matter is that NSWMA is the organization that is responsible under the Ministry of Local Government led by Minister Mackenzie. And I'm asking that Minister Mackenzie use his power and to send trucks in Clarendon overall to deal with the matter. I cannot understand that we have been calling, we have been requesting that the garbage be collected and move away from the gates of the citizen in the parish, and we are yet to see any real result.
Ground was broken for the Housing Agency of Jamaica St. Catherine Estate Development Project on Wednesday. Chairman of the HAJ, Norman Brown, says the project is expected to benefit 1,650 families.
The community will be structured in such a way that you have all the amenities. There will be green spaces. I think 9 acres have been committed for green spaces and parks. And we also are going to be leaving a reserved area for a primary school and a secondary school. So the design was really holistic, where it took into consideration all the needs of this community. There's also an area where we will be planning for a commercial development to service the needs of the community as well.
The project includes 800 studio units and 850 one-bedroom units. Speaking at the groundbreaking ceremony on Wednesday, Mayor of Spanish Town Norman Scott said the development will help to reverse the economic downturn in the parish.
We're glad for this development, as it will facilitate more employment and that it will ease the harsh economic situation that is facing many skilled persons in the parish.
The project was originally planned in 2012 as a low-income housing development. The Santa Cruz Police are appealing to business operators in the parish to utilize proper security systems in an effort to protect their establishments from criminals. This follows a series of robberies at various business places in and around the town over the last few months. The most recent took place yesterday afternoon, which saw the Sherwin-Williams Paint Hardware store in Santa Cruz being held up by 2 armed men. The men escaped with an undetermined sum of cash. A customer who was inside the store at the time of the incident was also robbed.
I went to Sherwin-Williams to buy a tube of silicone. While I was in the store, 2 gunmen came in a rough voice, in mask and hoodie, and instruct me to lie down on the ground, fast. So I lie down. They searched me. They took away my cell phone. They took my billfold with my ATM card, my credit card, and $3,000 cash plus $90,000 that I had to do some business further on up the road. In all, they spent about 10 minutes in the store and they left.
In sports, the Jamaica Football Federation President Michael Ricketts will know in June next year how much it will cost him in damages following a default judgment against him in a defamation case. According to court documents obtained by TVJ Sports, the JFF boss used derogatory language in reference to his former challenger for the Clarendon FA presidency. More in this report.
After failing to contest the charges laid against him in a defamation case filed before the Supreme Court on May 8, 2017, JFF President Michael Ricketts could end up paying a huge sum to the claimant Ainsley Lowe, who won a default judgment on September 8, 2017. Ricketts is now waiting for the final hearing for a case that has been in the court for over 3 years to come to an end on June 8, 2021. It all started when Lowe challenged Ricketts for the post of president of the Clarendon FA in 2016. Lowe had claimed the election was run unconstitutionally and should have been declared null and void. Then in a radio interview on Hits 92 FM's Sports Grill, Ricketts made this comment about Lowe.
Everywhere in Clarendon I turn, I hear about this man's unacceptable because I had to speak to him on certain issues that he took offense to, that relates to football and relates to him wanting now to wage a war against me.
It was then that Lowe took the matter to court seeking damages for libel, including exemplary and aggravated damages, also for interest, attorney's costs and other costs. According to the court documents, the claimant believed that in the Jamaican climate, Ricketts' words were particularly egregious and dangerous and could not only result in him being ostracized but physically harmed. When contacted by TVJ Sports, both Ricketts and Lowe declined to comment on the matter. Given FIFA's statutes which deal with non-discrimination, equality and neutrality, TVJ Sports sought the opinion of a former JFF president, Tony James, who described the incident as unfortunate.
FIFA members and leadership are not permitted to discriminate against a private person or a group on the basis of race, color, sexual orientation, and I'm paraphrasing this. And it's strictly prohibited, and it is punishable by suspension or expulsion.
A default judgment means the defendant, Ricketts, filed no defense. It then means that judgment is entered for the claimant, Lowe, for damages to be assessed by the court. Both parties also went to mediation, but the matter was not resolved.
And that's Midday News. I'm Milton Walker. Join us at 7 for Primetime News on behalf of the news, sports and production teams. Good afternoon.